Well, Mr. Manero, I can confirm I see us on Facebook.
Yes, sir, Mr. Gilmer.
Where are we? Where are we broadcasting? What's going on?
We are live on a beautiful sun-spanked spring day here at UppEr Merion High School in King of Prussia, Pennsylvania, where we are about to take a tour of one of the most beautiful new state-of-the-art high schools in part of the North Penn School District Bus to the Future, which means that what we're hoping is that in the very near future at North Penn High School, we have facilities very comparable to what we see here at UppEr Merion. So we're going to go inside, we're going to meet the superintendent and take a tour of what this beautiful new building looks like.
Doing any number of things for the learner.
Good morning, North Penn. Once again, we're here at UppEr Merion, and this is Dr. John Toleno, who is the superintendent of schools here at UppEr Merion School District. Dr. Toleno, this is beautiful.
Well, thank you. We appreciate it.
I imagine that everybody's thrilled with it. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what went on in this whole process and how you got from where you were to where you are right now?
Yeah, currently you're in an area we call the Commons area. So our students come in the morning, they kind of congregate in here, plus other places in the building. What the goal was for this building, and that's why Dave and Schrader Group was so instrumental in this. When I would walk in the old high school, it was a typical hallways building. It was a maze of hallways. But the issue that first struck me, I've been the superintendent here for 8 years, and what initially struck me was the fact that kids were everywhere in the hallways. We've been a one-to-one district for years. They were everywhere collaborating, but yet there was no place for them to be, if that makes sense. They were sitting in narrow hallways in any nook and cranny they could find, collaborating with their friends, maybe collaborating with teachers. So the biggest thing we wanted to do when we've been involved with the Schrader Group for a number of years on 2 other projects was to create build the building around the way we want to use it. And that's exactly what we did here. That's why you're going to see some spaces that you probably haven't seen at other buildings in this area. We visited 3 different buildings, 2 in the state, and then actually 3 in the state, and then another one in Minnesota that had some of the things that we wanted. So we did some traveling around to see what we could get and how we would do this. But really the best thing to do, and it's unfortunate you couldn't see it when kids are here because you'd be amazed. Like those seats up there, kids are just hanging out. Water bottles aren't flying over the railing. Sandwiches aren't being thrown against the walls. Kids are sitting on the learning stairs having their lunches during the day. There's no issues. You're going to see a lot of furnishing that's out in common areas. And you think, well, how can kids be out there playing Monopoly during one of their class periods? Well, because that's something that we want them to do, and their teachers aware of it. One of the things that Dave talked about a lot during the design concept was you'll see a lot of glass in the classrooms. And you're going to see a lot of common spaces, what we call common spaces outside the classrooms. We wanted to be able to extend outside the classroom. That's the goal. That was the goal in this building. And that's what we're able to do. The unfortunate part, as I said several times, you don't get to see the kids here. So I'd encourage if we could possibly bring smaller groups back when the kids are here, we can figure that out. Because I think you'll really enjoy what you see. So here's what we're going to do. The building is broken up into several sections. This is a commons area. We have the library commons up top. To my immediate right, to your immediate right across the way is the gymnasium, the pool, and the auditorium in that area. They're there because we get a lot of outside use in this community. So we want to be able to shut that area down, allow them to use the commons, allow them to use the pool, allow them to use the gymnasium, the auditorium when necessary, and yet they don't have access to what we call the academic wing. You'll see here we have a counseling center, main office, right off the commons area. Lots of glass. We want to be able to see what's going on. We want it to be welcoming to our kids, right? That's exactly what we do. We're going to go through here. We're going to make a left. You're going to notice that one of the focal points we're really excited about is the school store. It's run by our special ed kids. They do an incredible job. It's right here on the corner. You can't miss it. We're going to go down to the academic wing. There's a connection wing there that I'll explain once we get there. The connection wing is there. Those are the only lockers we have in the building. We only put enough lockers for about 40% of our population simply because kids don't use lockers. Instead, we had furniture built that would accommodate backpacks when they're in the classrooms. So you won't see any lockers in the hallways. This is the only place you're going to see it. The academic wing, which we'll walk into, is a 3-story building. We are not going to go up to the 3rd floor. There's some things I want to show you on the 1st floor and on the 2nd floor, and then we're going to make our way across up here to show you the rest of the building. The connections are on the 1st floor and the 2nd floor in this wing. And this connection wing that I'll show you And there's several reasons for that, but I'll explain it once we get there. And if you have any questions while we're moving, please feel free to ask. Anybody needs an elevator, please let me know. We can make that work as well.
Connection to the middle school.
Oh, we are also connected to the middle school, simply because there's several reasons. Number one, we hope to get to the place very soon in that why shouldn't middle school kids be allowed to take high school classes if they can do it? What's the problem? Doesn't make sense not to be able to do that, so we're connected there. We're also connected because the middle school kids still have swimming in their curriculum, and we eliminated the middle school pool because now we use that area as an auxiliary gymnasium because there wasn't a big enough footprint here to build an auxiliary gymnasium. So we only have the main gymnasium. I say only, that came out wrong, but so we have the main gym. So that's those are the reasons why the middle school is connected, so that we can all be one community. If we have to be one community from an educational perspective, and of course from the athletic perspective. Also, the gym is here on this side because that's where the middle school gyms are as well. So if we wanted to run, we have two gyms in the middle school, so we can use the main gym here, which has 3 courts, and then we can use the other 2 courts that are in the middle school gymnasium as well. So athletic events would make it a lot easier as far as concentrated efforts. You're not going from one end of the building to another, to a different building, to try to make those things. Did I miss anything?
No, I'm looking behind these folks here and looking at Dr. Bauer's office.
Yeah.
So that is the principal's office behind
there.
you. So talk about being totally invested in your community. This is where he sits and he's on display to all of the students and vice versa.
And oftentimes during the school day, you'll see him sitting right up there at one of those tables on his laptop, doing his thing. And it's just the way it works. You'll see many staff members at any given time out anywhere in the building. So it's really, again, you're almost like it's like you're in a Bronx Zoo without animals. It's no fun, right? But this is a beautiful building, but it's even more beautiful when you get to see the staff members and the kids using it, because that's what really makes it special. So let's get started. I could talk all day, and I don't want to do that.
I've been here half a dozen times. I can ride the caboose.
Yes.
So as North Penn students coming in here, what's your first impression when you came to the fund?
It's gorgeous. I love how open it is, and I like how like the cafeteria is connected to like the common area.
Yeah, and the lighting. Like I personally appreciate the natural lighting in like every.
I feel like I would feel more happy at school.
Oh, imagine that.
Yeah. This is one of our special ed wings. We have an apartment down there for the life skills kids. We have any number of other classrooms that they operate out of, along with in each of the different wings of the building. We have, of course, our special ed classrooms built into those wings as well. So again, makes those kids, the kids that we have here are constantly in the mainstream of the rest of our student body, including the school store, which the kids just love because it's the focal point of the building, basically, when you think about it. Okay. This core right here is nurse's office, counseling office, main office, this entire core. So that's where everybody is right there. We do have an assistant principal on the first floor and on the second floor. We have 2 assistant principals in the building. These are the locker banks that you'll see. They're the only lockers in the building for about 40% of our student body, and we're not even close to that amount of kids asking to use the lockers. Immediately to your right is an amphitheater. Now there's a reason for it. We can go out there. You want to go out?
Let's go.
We can do it. Now here's the reason. There's always been a 6-foot concrete pipe that carries a stream under this property. It's been there for years and years and years. It goes behind my office and comes down this way. We decided through the design team to open it up before it gets to its endpoint, which is a stream that's out pretty far from here. So we opened it up and created an amphitheater for our students. Now immediately over here are our art classrooms. There's roll-up doors there. So our art students can bring their artwork out, they can perform artwork out there under the vestibule and do all kinds of things out there. So let's go out. If you want to see it, we can do that. I'll hold the door. Glass for the railings is not in yet, so just please be careful as you walk out.
Impressive.
It didn't open? The door didn't open? It didn't open. Oh, it opened. Okay, it opened. I have my keys here. is kids can sit out here once we're done with you have to still get the glass and the rails. Come out here for lunch and learn. They can sit out here and eat. Come out here free time. These are all of our art classrooms on the first floor. You see the roll-up doors. Kids can come out and do work out here, display their work, any number of things that we do. This is also a secure area for those of you who might be wondering. There are panic gates on the fencing that's out there, so in case they had to get out of here, the kids can get out of this area. And that's where the stream opens up and goes back through under the road, out to the main street. And the nice thing is that they encourage us to open up the stream. They kind of want it. We thought we would have problems getting approval for it, but they didn't care, right? They just didn't care.
DEP wants
They
you to
wanted
look at
us to
streams,
do it.
so this was a big deal for them.
Yeah. It's got blinds there. Oh, yeah. And there's You're welcome.
This is the
Okay. There you go. I'm going to head down this way. One of our family consumer science classrooms.
All right, we're here with Jamie Devine. She's an English teacher at North Penn High School, North Penn grad. Jamie, you're a teacher. You're walking through. You just saw an outdoor space you can teach. What are your thoughts?
It's just amazing. What I notice is it's so open that it really builds a sense of community. Like everywhere I see an opportunity for connection. Right?
Sure.
That outside space where students can perform art
And
classes.
encouragement to be out in this
Encouragement
space.
to connect, encouragement for staff and students to come together. It's
Absolutely.
amazing.
You guys can come on and I'll be very brief. We'll only go into this room once. There's 6 of them in the building. We're only going to go in here once. You'll see them in the core of the building for the rest of the tour. You might wonder what they are. So this is called an instructional planning center. What we tried to do is, obviously there are some teachers that have their classrooms. But for the most part, this is where teachers call home. There are 6 of these particular facilities in these rooms in this academic wing. So each teacher has their own kind of space to call home, whether it's put up pictures, whether it's to keep their coat, their purse, whatever. That doesn't mean that some teachers don't have their own classrooms, but what that allows is more flexibility in scheduling at some point because we're predicted to grow. So we have to have more flexibility to be able to schedule the building itself. So we call them instructional planning centers. There's a conference room back here where David's standing, where they can meet with either students or a colleague individually, privately, and then of course there's a restroom in here as well. So as you see them in the core of the academic wing, that's exactly what they are. Anything there? You good?
No, that's good.
Okay. Shoot that down here.
How about it?
So I'll ask you guys a question. So basically the concept here is you don't have quote unquote your own classroom, you have your own space. Now as someone who's had a classroom for a while, what do you guys think of that?
Well, I think that would take a little adjusting and getting used to. But I think there's obviously the ability to reimagine how teachers work together and how teachers meet with students. So that's all new. It'd have to take a lot of getting used to, I think.
Yeah, I see a lot of collaboration for staff members where that we might not have that right now. Especially as a new teacher, I'm always looking for advice from my colleagues. So to be in a space where it feels like we're open for conversation, time honestly is the hardest thing, and this looks like it provides time to meet together or to be around other colleagues, see what they're working on,
Absolutely.
get some advice.
You guys have off Monday? Next Monday. We have school.
Okay, immediately to my right is our tech area. We did this for any number of reasons. We wanted to be a focal point of the building. We wanted to see other kids that walk by here gain an interest in that. And we also have some stadium seating down here where we encourage kids to just hang out. In this core right here, this is very typical for what you're going to see throughout the building. We wanted to bring the classroom out of the classroom. So if you have something you need to do and your teacher can see you all the time, why can't you sit out here with, like these young ladies here, why can't you sit out here and hang out with kids that are in your class and get some work done? The furnishings, we're very happy with them. We did this in 2 elementary schools that we completed several years ago. The kids love them because they're flexible. You can just kind of sit on them. You can roll around. You can sit any different way on these chairs. And again, the furniture is designed to put in any setup you want. In the core here, you see this open area with the classroom. It looks like a classroom. It's actually a collaboration center. We have about 24 of those in the building. The kids can get on. They can go on a Google Doc sheet, and they can reserve those spaces along with their teachers. So at any given time, I see you guys are excited about it. You're a perfect example. I'm not thinking of you guys. I'm excited about it. You guys may decide, hey, listen, we're working on a project together. We need, that happens to be A105. Sign it up. As long as your teacher says you're good, go down to your work. There's a smart board in there. There's everything you would possibly need to complete your work in that space. And that's why we do it. Okay? Great.
So we have these at math, and believe it or not, the way you see kids using them most, it's like this, and then the laptop that's here.
I couldn't do that, so I didn't.
He just has to get up. The ones that we have at math, actually, it's an interesting concept, but there's a compression. There's almost like a suspension here, and when they sit, they don't roll, which is really good for elementary school kids. So they roll, but as soon as you put body weight on it, it stops, which is really cool. Sure. Wait till you see this. I want to watch the kids' faces when you can see what you're about to see.
So each one of our areas, each of the academic areas is themed. This is clearly our business wing down here. These are our learning stairs. This was important to us. We did learning stairs like this in both of our elementary schools, and it's something that Dave brought to us as a design characteristic in the building. So we tried them in the elementary schools. The kids love them. So you can imagine any number of kids here during the learn period or during any other academic period just sitting anywhere they want. You can charge their phones, they can charge their computers, whatever you want to do. They can hang out here. And again, guys, there aren't sandwiches being thrown around. There aren't things that shouldn't be going on here. Set expectations, provide the space, and believe it or not, it works. You know that? I don't want to be rude, but that's the way it works. So we're very, very happy about this. You see, there's a lot of logoing, a lot of branding in the building. Horns Up is one of the things that we use as an expression around here to make sure kids are doing the right things. Large ceiling fans up top pumping the air down, and you can see along the top, and we'll get up on the second floor, you can see it. These are all bar stools up there and countertops. So at any given time, you'll see teachers out here, you'll see kids out there sitting along any of that area, whether it's on their computer, charging their phones, what have you. And again, you see more furniture, flexibility. Once again, the theme is bring the classroom outside of the classroom into the common space.
Dr. Toleno, we're getting some questions on Facebook. Very obvious question to ask, especially in these times, about safety.
Okay.
And we have a lot of glass and a lot of open areas. So how do you address the school safety issues to work with these open spaces?
Well, number one, we can be in constant communication for where a perpetrator may be, because you can see people, right? Number two, and I hate to say it this way, someone wants to get in the building, they're going to get in a building. Whether there's glass or not, they're going to get in. But we feel like this provides for us the ability to be able to visualize and be able to, if we know that a perpetrator is somewhere, we can get someone else out somewhere else because we can see, we can vision. It's an open space. And I can turn it back around and say, well, how are you allowed to have kids outside the classroom? Well, because we can see the kids. So we're going to design a building. I'll tell you a really quick story. A number of years ago, I want to say it might have been Newtown, it might have been the shooting in Florida, I don't know which one it was. The board asked me to do a presentation on what do we need to do to have safer buildings. So I started out the presentation by taking the three or five most secure prisons in the country, and I showed the building itself without the fencing, and I said, those are beautiful buildings. I put them on a PowerPoint presentation. I said, those buildings are great. I said, these are really very secure buildings. And then I pulled back and showed the fact that they're state and federal prisons. And I said, so we're going to design a building around what may happen, or we're going to design a building where it's an educational facility. So we didn't want to get wrapped up in that situation, but yet we also know that where our security guard, our security office is the first office you go to when you walk in the vestibule. You can't get anywhere else besides there. So, we didn't, it's a fine balance. Whoever's out there asking the question is a great question, but it's a balance. Are you designing an educational facility or are you designing a prison? And that's the best way I can put it.
And while you're wide open inside, your perimeter is still very secure.
In the building alone, there's 264 cameras in this building alone. On the perimeter, there's probably another 100. So there's very little that can go on that we don't know about. Also, we have an agreement. Since it's such a small community, and I can only speak for this community, I've been a superintendent in 3 others, but they were similar to this. One was rural, one was similar to this, and then, of course, UppEr Merion. So what happens here is, as part of the regular duty shift of the UppEr Merion PD, they have to at least tour the building twice a day as part of their duty shift. All of our buildings, by the way. Every one of our buildings. They have to walk the buildings twice a day during their duty shift. There's always a presence. Look, is that a perfect answer? No, but I don't think anybody has a perfect answer. Sorry.
Thank you.
22 years of what I know. Go
How
ahead.
have drills changed on that account? Because with intruder drills now, we all line up on the wall facing the door, but you have windows here. And I see you have the blinds, but that's not foolproof, so how?
It's not. I don't have a perfect answer for you, except through our communication system and some of the other drills that I won't get into. We can communicate where a perpetrator or perpetrators may be in the building. And again, it's not a perfect answer to a terrible scenario, but it's just a sad world that we have to even have these conversations, but it's part of the reality that we have. Okay, we're going to go down this way, and then we're going to go upstairs.
Yeah.
Just look at me.
HGTV show.
You've got both these buffers on each side. This is such a huge core, we know we can fit everybody. Just off to your right, we run to my right, we run a early childhood education program, so we have little guys and little girls from the community that are in here every day in the mornings. So our kids work with those kids every day, and then there's a private playground over here that they can go out to as well.
Yeah, it's not going anywhere. No, not at all. Thank you.
Yes, you do.
Sorry, Kevin.
So Dr. Bauer, this morning, I wasn't part of the tour, but we talked about spaces like our food services and the kitchen lab. I'm just looking at them in here.
Just look at that. Would you look at that?
We're looking at it. Lights are on it over here.
Yeah.
But just kind of compare and contrast what we saw this morning.
Yeah, so in terms of the objectives, I think the objectives are the same, but the accessibility in this classroom, the space, certainly students that have mobility challenges, the spaces in North Penn High School that was built in 1971 is not ADA compliant. So it's wide open, larger spaces, more maneuverability, but yet the state standards and the curriculum don't change. Our students are at a disadvantage in the spaces that we have. And of course you see the natural light and the higher ceilings, and just the whole point is to try to inspire learning. We're hearing from them around this tour, and I've heard other times that I've been here, they say student behavior has changed as a result of higher ceilings, wider hallways, more natural light, setting expectations, giving kids more freedom. You treat them like adults, they act like it.
Gotcha. We're going to bring Ms. Liberoski in.
Ms. Liberoski.
I don't know if there's any other questions on Facebook as we're walking to catch up with the tour. Just walk with me so we catch up.
I think most of the questions are actually surrounding the glass and security.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have anything extra to
Yeah,
add
so what I can, and I certainly understand and appreciate Dr. Toleno's apprehension to speak to it, because you don't want to put your safety and security plans out in the open, right? But they do aspire to kind of a philosophy of security through transparency. We can see everything. There are no nooks and crannies. But there are doors that close when they can identify the threat and isolate that threat. Like he said, it is not a perfect solution. I know that model doesn't fit for everyone, but at the end of each corridor, there are doors that automatically close and can kind of section off a building.
Another instructional planning center. Our custodians and maintenance guys have been This is another one of those core rooms that I talked about that the kids can sign up for, staff members can sign up for, and you'll see on each side of these, there's a lot of display cases. We want to have kids, and again, we're new to the building in August. We were just, trust me, in August, we were trying to figure out how to get this place open. So we wanted a lot of display for what the teachers put out and what kids can put out.
Now that you're up and running, do you wish you had more of those, or?
Nope, we're good.
Is there anything like that?
We're still trying to learn how to use the place, and I think that the short time that we've been here, it's really worked out quite nicely. The staff members have done an amazing job decorating their classrooms and just trying to figure it out. So here's these areas I was telling you about. You're on every floor. Kids can sit here now. You don't see gouges dug in the wood. You don't, kids will sit here. They'll charge their phones. They'll charge their computers. They'll sit and do work. Staff members will also be out here, especially during lunch and learn. They're not assigned to be out here. They'll just be out here hanging out. Furniture on the end. You'll notice some of this. We haven't seen this kind of furniture yet in the building, but again, all flexible furniture. At any given time, you see staff members is out here. There's people out here, any period you come out, any period that I walk through the building, there are kids utilizing these spaces the way we want them to be utilized, and it makes me feel good, because that's what you want, right? You don't want to come out here during the school day and not see these spaces being used. That's the last thing you want. There's a lot of square footage here. You want it being used the way it was designed. Go down here.
What do you think so far?
I think it's absolutely
So
outstanding.
For us,
Everything about it, the rooms, everything being so adaptable, flexible. Flexible is a good word to say
Unfortunately,
about
our lab spaces.
the building.
Guys, right now we're getting into a science spaces. So anybody that can name the lights up top, they're from the periodic table of elements. So if you know them, you can spew them out, but I won't know if you're telling the truth or not.
Hydrogen.
You're right.
It's so, everything is bright.
Yeah. And it can be brighter out here as well.
Mr. Gilmer. So I'm going to flip the script and interview Kevin over here on the side. Hello, Mrs. Manero.
Sure, Dr. Bauer. All right, answer any question you have.
Kevin, tell them about the beautiful.
I just saw the beautiful new baseball and softball fields, which will be done by June. Artificial turf, very nice. Dr. Toleno was nice enough to show me those.
So do we have a good enough lighting here?
Sure.
Okay. All right, Kevin. So I know you've talked to Mrs. Devine, you talked to some students and community members. Bob just kind of interviewed me, but as a North Penn alum, somebody who is super involved, the advisor to our night crier, often on our morning show in North Penn right now, the PA announcer, our baseball coach. You're a guy who is North Penn through and through. What do you think of when you walk through this building? What are your thoughts?
The first thing I can think of is I can imagine what people must have said when they came to North Penn High School when it opened in 1971. And people probably came through and looked at it in the same way that we're looking at this building now. But that was 50 years ago. And I think about the original part of Penn Day and how that's from the 1930s. And when I was in high school at North Penn in the 90s, that building to me was archaic. It was so old. Well, that's our current building now. When I walk in here, this is 21st century. This is what schools look like. I feel like I'm on a college campus. It seems so positive. It seems so bright. I can only imagine the effect it would have on students to be in a place where they're surrounded by nothing but pride in their facility, by they clearly are trusted, that they can be in these open spaces, well-lit spaces, collaborative spaces. I think it's telling us that students are capable of functioning very well in a very inviting and very welcoming atmosphere.
So I don't know if you remember this or not. Here's a blast from the past. My very first faculty meeting as the principal at North Penn High School, we did an activity where we broke into groups and we did some, we'll say, artistic representations of core values. You came up to the microphone at the end and essentially said, I don't want to strive for 17th. I don't want to strive for this. I want North Penn to be #1 in something.
Yep.
So what do you think of when you see this facility and the potential that we do have?
Yeah, I think of North Penn School District as an incredible school district with an incredible base of wonderful people and so much diversity and so much equity and inclusion, but also so much history and tradition. And people should be coming to us and saying, how do you do it? How are you guys such a high standard bearer for public education? And I think it starts with facilities. I think it starts with pride in place. I think it starts with functional spaces that work for kids of the 21st century. We can do it. I 100% believe it. And I look forward to the day that people come into our doors and say, wow, this is what it looks like to be the standard bearer in Pennsylvania public high school education. And it's not easy. It takes time. It takes money. We know that. It takes growing pains, but it also takes vision and hope and opportunity. I think we have all those things to make it happen.
I think he did a pretty good job. Let's keep going with this tour. So this is one of those spaces that I was talking about where you could close off an area of the building. If you look right here at this threshold, of course, Dr. Toleno is not going to highlight, right? There's a crash bar door that will come down if you needed to isolate this area of the building.
That's all kind of part of modern building design.
It is.
Things you don't see in order to secure the building.
Correct. Yes. Certainly not things we had in the 70s, right? So here's another threshold here. Another area.
Up here.
Okay. Don't want to think that way. We have
I'm really
to.
proud of our help desk. Can we move there for a minute?
Yeah, no, I think that was the whole idea. It's awesome.
We moved all district technology over to this building. I want to show you our help desk. I'm not even sure I have access to it. Yep. So we have this staffed every day with several staff members.
Yeah, it's cool. Just with furniture. There'll be kids walking up and down the hallway, but they could find this, and then you can find those rooms out too. So.
Those rooms, we were talking about those on the bus. How we needed more of those at North Penn.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And that's right across from the library commons there, so these are all breakout areas here across the hall as well.
It's really cool. I love how open it is.
Yeah. It always feels like an area, like natural light is somewhere, coming from somewhere.
Lighting, love the lighting.
Doing okay?
Overlooking the commons area. That's our help desk area. You guys can go ahead. Right.
Kids work here, right? I remember Jonathan saying that.
Yes, some
We
of
have
our kids, but
students.
mostly our staff from our IT department are in here every day.
So, Mr. Gilmer, when I visited previously, and Dr. Toleno just said this, but this is the help desk for technology. They're a one-to-one district, just like North Penn. So it is staffed with the IT department, but also staffed with students. So you have students who are trained to help other students fix their devices and their technology. So pretty cool space. Something you would definitely see on a college campus, for example.
Higher ed stuff here.
Looks like some people did a little spilling though. Kids, I'll tell you, kids.
Part of the. It's probably the teachers, but they're hosting.
So guys, the space we're in right now brings us back to the commons area where you came into the building on the first floor. But we have our library up here. This is an area where kids just are. This is also an extension of the library space using 2 of the classrooms that are out here. So if the librarians need a space to take kids, or staff members do, they can take kids into any of these classroom areas or small group instruction areas that are up here. Anytime during the day you come up here, you're going to see kids. That's what we want. So, I guess this really isn't about the kids, it's more about the adults in the area. You say, well, if kids are sitting up here eating lunch, are things flying? No, they're not. Because first of all, there's 264 cameras in the building. You're not getting away with anything. And the expectation is set that that's not how we're going to operate. I think our leadership team here under Mr. Bauer's leadership is incredible. So, guys, we didn't clean the building up because you were coming today. We cleaned the building. We do our work to just do our general maintenance on the building like any other group would do on a building. So this is just a space that's really cool to walk into, whether it's the morning or whether it's during the lunch period. Some kids do stay in here. Some kids choose not to go other places in the building. Some kids sit up here. It's pretty cool.
And you've said with the gym being over here and this being the main entrance, this is the area of the building on a weekend or at night when there's events going on. This would be an area that the community would see most
And then we
often.
shut down the rest of the building, so no one can get to the rest of the building. That's also a security feature for the kids who were asking that question before. The building can be shut down, so if there's a perpetrator in this section of the building, you're not getting over to that section of the building. You cannot get in there unless you somehow get in from outside. You cannot get in from the core if we shut the gates down. There's not only smoke gates, but there's also security gates that can be electronically deployed to shut off any area of this building that we need to shut off.
That's something that David Schrader just highlighted as he and I were walking around. So often in buildings, older buildings in particular, you have keys, right? And in an emergency, locking the door, and even in drills, like as a teacher, I remember my hands getting nervous locking a door. Here, every classroom, swipe access.
Every space is swipe access.
So if you were to hit a panic button or something, everything can be locked down automatically.
That's exactly right. Yes. This is our library. Some people, the question we get a lot is, shouldn't there be more space? Well, no. This is the same amount of volumes that we have at the other high school that we have in this library. The difference is the other library was a lot larger because kids would go up there and eat their lunch there to be part of the library. The librarian encouraged it because she wanted kids in the library, but yet really wasn't the best thing for the environment, and it was really in the core of the building, really a crappy place to be, but this is a little bit different. Just watching it. They're still getting sound house put in different places.
what is this? Maybe a fifth the size of our library?
Feels a lot less dungeon.
It does, yeah.
Right.
From the librarian's perspective, we haven't seen that. We still have kids that want, like I personally, I don't want to read off a Kindle, I want a book. So I'm not saying that I'm the norm, but our librarian asked for the same amount of volumes, space for volumes that she had up in the other high school. So we haven't seen that at all. Hasn't been our experience.
Guys, how you doing?
Folks, off to my left here is our television studio. You guys obviously have the same kind of thing. Are you gonna? I don't want to take you in because I don't want. There's a trip hazard with the plywood being down. They're putting sound panels in the ceilings, so I don't necessarily want to go in there through how we would have to get you in there. But here's our console. There's a green screen. Everything was on there. Oh, that's right.
I'm there every morning. And there are a couple people. Couple.
5:30.
Yeah, it's open 5:30 to 6:30. In the summer, that changes. That's what I'm talking about.
Oh, okay.
The outdoor track.
Okay.
So,
This is our gymnasium. We have bleachers on the bottom floor. That set of bleachers, immediately to my right, there's 2 gates there. So what we can do is during the school day, we can pull the bleachers open and kids, even if there's an activity going on down here, they can walk up the bleachers and walk the track during PE if they don't want to do the program that they have for that day. The track is set up, it's a 3-lane track, it's set up in such a way that we have the markings for hurdles and other markings you would want on a track, but yet clearly the spacing would be the same, it's much smaller. So we get a lot of use out of that. There are 3 full courts side to side, and of course the main game court in here. It's a tremendous sound system, so whatever you do, if you're going to use, the sound system is incredible. We hold an event every year called One District, One Cause, where we raise money. The faculty, each building puts together a volleyball team. There's a round-robin volleyball tournament goes on here. It was really neat because the music was going, which really impressed me, and the sound was incredible. But on top of that, the announcers could speak right over the music. So the system is just, it's wild. We're very, very happy with the way this gym turned out. It worked out very, very well for us. And the kids love it. Down on the one end, we're going to walk down there. You'll be able to see it. Inside that glass area, typically that's all of our fitness equipment is in there. We have a fitness center for the students as well, and for the staff. So that fitness center is not built for the football players or the wrestlers to do their bulk workouts in. It's more in line with what we would do for general health fitness. You should view it as a lab for PE teachers. You know, every science teacher has their own lab, right? PE teachers never had that, and I was involved in another large construction project in another district. We did the same thing there, and it really worked out well. We want our kids to, like, I don't want a group of young ladies or young men being in a facility working out when you have a group of football players or wrestlers, and I was a football player through college, so I get it, but it's a different atmosphere that's created, right? So I want people to be comfortable in there. I want staff members to, after school, to feel comfortable in there. So that's not the facility for those kids to use and those sports to use. They have another facility there's no glass to it right now. There will be, but I can show you that as we go through. So we're going to go down, actually let's go in the auditorium right now. I'll show you the second floor looking down, it's probably the best shot of that.
What a difference that would have. What a difference that would have made.
It's been amazing. So I have David.
That's why you just line up along the glass.
Yeah, that's what I mean. You're saying there wouldn't be.
Smells new in here.
It does smell new. It's not good.
Needless to say, guys, this is our auditorium. It's a 650-seat auditorium. We didn't want anything larger. There's 200 seats up here, 450 on the floor. The beautiful part is that these seats up here are all retractable, and this room can be split across the whole width to shut it down, and also to make 2 classrooms. Or an area, and the best example I can give you is our cheerleaders can bring their lightweight mats up here and shut this room off and still be able to do their practices here if there's no other place for them to go. So it kind of works out nicely like that. Or it could be a small lecture area and you can split it up in, like I said, in 2. The auditorium itself, we're still working on sound panels simply because we couldn't get them done over the summer. So this is the next thing they're going to want to do is try over spring break, which is what they're doing now. That's what you see laid out on the stage. There's also a full orchestra underpit under that stage. Right now the temporary top is on there. That's why you can't see down there, but it's a full orchestra underpit, underneath the pit, underneath the stage. And it worked out. We had our first musical. Where's Dave? We had our first musical a week or so ago, and it was well received. Yeah, it worked out really great for us. And that sound shell comes down, by the way. That can all come down. I want to say they probably use that as a backdrop for the elementary show. But that all comes down as well. And the fly station softball field down. We saw that in Minnesota. We went to what was the name of the building? Alexandria, Minnesota, to view a high school there. And we all walked in the auditorium and said, "What were you guys thinking?" And what they were thinking was, senior citizens from Twin Cities, Minneapolis, St. Paul, said, "We'd rather pay more in this area for you to build something like this so we don't have to travel to the Twin Cities." And they built, right, Dave? That place was incredible. But what we did was, instead of, we didn't have the footprint to be able to do the seating, but we did do the stage and the fly space, and all backstage is really quite impressive. We're going to go out this way. We're going to go to the pool area.
Audrey, all these seats.
Yes, all the back. And then what would you do with that?
I don't know.
Cheerleaders, we could split here.
Can you get Karina when you're done? Who do we wrap her?
Cheerleaders. Bring their lightweight mats up here. Wherever they want. Okay.
Mr. Manero? Go ahead, go through. Jamie, you can hop in here too.
All right, so Dr. Bauer, Ms. Manero, everyone else, it looks like to me we're down at like 9% for Facebook. We're going to keep recording and post more for later, but I wanted to get a wrap so far of what we've seen compared to this morning and this afternoon. I want to just talk about what you've seen before we run out of Facebook time here.
I think we should hear from the students first.
I agree.
Outside of your obvious jealousies or anything like me, could you imagine learning in a space like this?
I would be so much more focused and more attentive in classes.
Yeah, I think you can definitely see how this space was built for students and the amount of spaces that students can learn and collaborate in. We were just talking about that on the bus, how that would be so helpful and build a more engaging environment.
Audrey, push that seat down, see if it squeaks.
That's what I was noticing.
Do you think these come in green or yellow?
I hope not.
Anything to add, Audrey?
I mean, it's crazy. It's so cool to see how much of a college environment this feels like. I was just at Penn State and it had essentially the same like systems and open spaces that the school has, and it's really crazy to see and imagine this as a high school.
How about as a teacher, Jamie? Could you imagine how different things would be, the way you interact with students and the way you carry on a regular basis?
Absolutely, just the opportunities alone for differentiated instruction. But one of the really special things we heard today was that this is just what you want to see, the students out here in the halls. And I think that an older philosophy is that the students shouldn't be in the halls without a pass or somewhere to go. But this really allows for a safe and effective way to let them use their building. And for teachers to interact as well, right? To hear teachers are sitting outside with the students, like those connections are incredible.
Dr. Bauer, it doesn't happen overnight, does it?
It does not. So I'm going to share a little insider information here that Mr. Manero has been saying very mean and nasty things to me as we've been walking around like, come on, are you kidding me? I
have been saying this.
He actually said on the bus, I have a feeling I'm not going to want to see this. It will take a commitment. You said in our last interview, it takes time, it takes money, it takes a commitment from the community. I do think we have the right community to want to make North Penn High School, the facility itself, a point of pride. But the opportunities that it will create for our students and staff are really exciting to me. I just really think this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to reshape education in North Penn, and I think we have the right team to move forward with it. And we haven't even gotten outside to some of the other facilities that are going to mean a lot to you, I'm sure.
Well, it all means a lot to me. But, I mean, you think about how the world has changed. Obviously technology has changed. Obviously the way that we give instruction. I remember when I started teaching at North Penn High School in 2002, we didn't even have, interactive whiteboards or anything. Every kid didn't have their own laptop or Chromebook. We didn't have any of that. We had a little tiny TV up in the corner that you had to put a PowerPoint slide on that nobody could even see. And that's just not the way we present things in any capacity today, in the work world, in the education world. None of that's like that. So in order to reimagine the spaces that we have, it does take a lot. You can't just slap some new paint on the walls and put in a new outlet and say, oh, well, we're up to date. It takes a lot more than that.
Yeah, as I've been saying in some of my public presentations, that learning now is more participatory than it is you sit and get, right? There's an old movie that was called Stand and Deliver. Students are in rows, the teacher stands up front and just lectures the whole time. You don't memorize facts any longer. You don't just sit there and get information. You don't open up your head and let people pour in facts. Rather, you need to get your hands dirty, collaborate, move. That's what's expected out in the real world nowadays, too. So the collaboration, the flexibility, that's what you see in this building. And I like the way, I think it was Karina said, it seems as though this building was designed for kids instead of being designed for the adults.
I can tell you up on third floor K-Pod, my students will go out in the hallway to do work when we're working in groups. They immediately go out toward where the bank of windows are at the end of the hallway because it's comfortable, it's warm, it's natural light. Imagine an entire building essentially being like that.
Well, I just want to thank all of you for joining us today. I hope we had a lot of engagement online. I'm sure we'll have more viewers as time goes on. But we'll continue filming. We're running out of battery here for Facebook Live. Thanks for coming with us to UppEr Merion High School, and we'll be in touch.